Okay, so this may be old news, but it's new news to me. And when I read it, I kind of felt like I wanted to have a discussion about it, or just just give you some of my thoughts and see what some of your thoughts as creatives would be concerning this. So the headline that I came across was that James Earl Jones signed over his voice rights to Disney. And when I read that, I was thinking to myself, what do they mean by signing over his voice rights? I had not at this point heard of that concept. So I kind of started reading through the article, and they were saying that because of his iconic voice of Darth Vader, they wanted to have a way to continue to use his voice in future creative, projects, even after his passing. And I think they did this, from what I was reading, they did this primarily because he wanted to retire. I mean, he was, after, he'd been doing that voice since 1977. And I think he was ready to, to sit down. But that voice is one of a kind. And finding a replacement for that voice, I will admit, would be quite difficult to do. And so they went through the process of this voice preservation process, where when I was looking through, and they basically went through different recording sessions um, to basically record his voice in different various Darth Vader lines, phrases, sounds. And then they basically did a voice style analysis. So the engineer studied his voice, his delivery, his tone, his cadence, and they created a digital signature. And then they placed this digital signature into an AI powered voice synthesis. So the recorded voices and digital signature, it can be used to create a synthetic voice model. Okay, allowing this AI powered voice synthesis to generate new dialogue and performances. Um, and so I guess Mr. Jones, he allowed this to take place, and then he signed over his voice rights so that in perpetuity they'll be able to use his name, his likeness, and his voice in future projects. And I just started really thinking about that. Of course, from a legal perspective, my legal mind is always going to go there first. I'm wondering, so is his estate going to get paid in perpetuity every time that they use this voice, or was it a one-time lump sum payment to have it? I mean, and what would be fair, or what, and I guess that would be up to him. The article did not necessarily discuss that, but I definitely, was thinking that, like, what is the value of James Earl Jones's Darth Vader voice? That's $1 billion industry. So that kind of crossed my mind, and I kind of wondered about that. But then I also started thinking about how much more competitive is the industry going to be for newcomers when they have to compete with the greats who have gone on and passed, but yet are still creating new content? Because in addition to this, the voice preservation, of course, we know we have what they call them, the holograms. And where is the room for the new icons to come in, or will they just exist there together, side by side? um it's something, I think, the passage of time. You know, when you see a young Michael Jackson looking up to a James Brown growing up, and you see, he's idolizing James Brown. He's building his talents around, emulating James Brown, and then coming forth with new and original uh talents and dance moves and things that are based on the foundation that he learned from James Brown. And then you see them together on stage performing together. And then James Brown passes. And then Michael Jackson continues to move forward in his greatness. It's something about that, the passage of time and people being, the greats of their era. And then you move and you step back and you allow the next generation to come forward and be the greats of their time and their era. And the community, the audience, having to embrace somebody new because that person for which they loved and cherished is no longer there. And of course, they still have the works that they created while they were living, but they are forced to embrace somebody new, um, because there's no new content coming from the great who has passed on. But now they can now appreciate this new artist who is coming forward and what he is bringing to the table and what he is offering uh, to the audience. So, but I mean, I also, I can't begrudge the estate of someone like a James Earl Jones, who has such an iconic voice. And of course, we would love to hear it and, in new content, in the future, and finding a way for it to happen. And that estate, hopefully, will be compensated or has been well compensated for the granting of those rights. Um, hmm, interesting. So, yeah, it really makes you think as we move into this new world in entertainment of AI, um, voice, what they call it, voice synthetic synthesis, hologram concerts, things of that nature. Um, is it going to be difficult? Is it going to, is the competition going to rise? Because now you are, as a new person coming into the industry, um, you're going to be competing, your new content is going to be competing with the icons, whether they're here or not. So, but anyway, tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Just let me know. I'm attorney Angela Green, and these are just my thoughts.